Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
For artists that want to follow a realistic style, I don't know that you necessarily have to overthink about an influence like me or any other painter who does realism. You can certainly get a lot from the pieces that we've done, maybe even imitate some of those compositions, but I think you'll find your own way once you're just studying reality, which is what I would do. I mean, if I'm going to look at people, things, photographs, it's beneficial to start shooting your own if you can get into that. And these days, since everybody's got a camera, that's not so much of an issue anymore. Being able to study life as the basis for something is the best. I had the longest problem of thinking I needed to have everybody and every element be perfect before I could use it as a reference source. And so it took me a long time to realize how flexible the basis of the human form is. I've posed her myself on loads of paintings where now I guess I'm called out by some people online. It's a process of getting your mind comfortable with what you're building off of. And at a certain point, I would say accept that you're going to feel like you're not seeing it until you've seen it. You know, that maybe you do need to have a thing look like a thing exactly before you're painting from it.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for Oh Yeah Trek Watch, where me and my cohorts, and they're right there, that normally we watch Star Trek and try to talk about what we like and what we don't like. And it's been a long time since we could talk about something we really do like. But I'm happy to welcome back from his away mission, Franco. It's good to see you, buddy.
Hi, good to see you. Sorry, I've been behind in the times, as it were.
It's all right. No. I mean, and again, they kind of make it easy for you to catch up when they take their hiatuses as they do. I know you're caught up on Star Trek Prodigy, which is essentially what we're going to talk about today. Where are you on Discovery?
I've seen 2 episodes of the new season of Discovery. So, depending on where you want to start, you want to start from a place of hate or a place of love. Where do you want to start?
Well, what do you think right now? I mean, what of the first 2 episodes? I mean, the problem of the season, this space anomaly, and what do you think so far?
So the first episode of the season, I watched it and I was so annoyed and disappointed. I'm like, I can't believe they're doing, the same tropes, the same thing again and again. Burnham, and oh my God, nothing could be happening without her, and she and arguing with the president, and it was just so. I could barely get through the episode. The second episode, I was a little bit more surprised. I liked it more than I thought I was going to, mainly because I don't think it was all Burnham. It really showcased a lot of the rest of the crew.
Remind me what happened in episode 2.
So episode 1 is where Book's home planet kind of gets destroyed. Episode 2, They go back to gather some information, and they find that something has destroyed the planet and it's moving. So they go in to find some information. So Book has to take his ship in along with again, can't remember any of the characters' names. The Stamets. Goes in as a hologram.
Yes.
But it was Book and Stamets, and Burnham was kind of almost, in the beginning of the episode, she was like Burnham, and I'm like, oh great, here we go again. But then she was kind of relegated to the backseat, as it were, She still was captain and did her thing, but Saru came back, and I can't understand why he's gone and comes back, and he's gone and comes back again. That whole thing kind of throws me for a loop. But he's back again, and now he's first officer again.
Right. Although they still refer to him, and I don't think this is spoiling, but in subsequent episodes they still call him. He has his captain rank, and I'm like, all right, well, Spock was still Captain Spock, being Kirk's officer in the
right. No, I didn't. I don't mind that.
Stuff.
And they said, how about Mr. Saru? And I'm like, oh, that's a cute little callback. I was okay with that. Again, it was the secondary characters that stood up, and this is what they should have been doing for 3 years, I think, and would have made Discovery a lot more enjoyable for me over the years, I think, because
I agree.
Yeah, the bridge crew had things to do rather than just like introducing them and then they have a problem, and then it was a lot more cohesive as a crew.
Yeah.
To them solving a problem, and yeah, I enjoyed the episode more than I thought. I'm hesitant though, because I think you've seen the other episodes, so I don't know.
Well, I can honestly say, as I think I've texted you, Discovery is trying to be more like Star Trek, and also having B and C plots that involve other crew members.
Right.
And that's great to see. Burnham is still the solution for 80 or 90% of what happens. And that's frustrating. My favorite thing, and I think I could say this safely, you having seen the 2 episodes, I love that they're reporting to the Admiral, and it's like, sir, we've discovered an anomaly. And he goes, what is it? And I wanted to say, it's an anomaly. That means we don't know what it is, you idiot. I'm sorry that in the 33rd century, the definition of anomaly seems to have been destroyed with the burn. But I mean, it's like, and also they can't call it the anomaly. They'll call it the DMA, dark matter anomaly or something, but they call it the DMA. And it's like, is it that hard to educate your audience of what the word anomaly means? There's just these simplistic choices they make that still irritate the fuck out of me. I'm glad you saw the president thing, because again, how does this fucker stay in Starfleet? And I'm saying Burnham is the fucker when she is so insubordinate. She can't even hold her shit together when she's talking to the president of the Federation.
Right. Well, yeah, and I know that that was set up and meant to like push her buttons a little bit, on purpose. But honestly, it's like, how did you get flung into the future? How did you even get to this point? Your career should have died in the past long ago. And maybe this is why we never knew that Spock had a sister, because like they were so ashamed of her and her career that they never talked about her. That's how it should have gone in the past. But yeah, it's like, I don't know.
Well,
but again, the second episode I did like. I liked it more because it really fleshed out some of the crew, and it felt more like a Star Trek episode than Discovery has in a long time. But I have to watch the other episodes and see.
Well,
but
truly, I really and honestly, I shit on it harder than anyone on our show, including you and Mitch. But that said, I can see they're trying, and I do believe they're listening to the audience when they get angry and say, I'm sorry, it's share the wealth. It can't always be Burnham. Can you please, you've got all these other actors and characters, please like give them something to do.
Yeah.
And it seems like they are inching towards that. And I will say inching because I still think it's not enough, but at least they're heading in that right direction.
Can you imagine the original series having every episode revolve around and having the ending outcome be just on Kirk's shoulders all the time? Like, you have this cool alien named Spock with these pointed ears, but we know nothing about him type thing. Like it's just, I don't know why they've done that for 3 seasons on this show. and it's just really irritated me, annoyed me. Yeah,
It's interesting because fans of Discovery will throw that in my face and say, well, primarily it was about Kirk. I mean, you get the occasional Spock episode, but it was mostly about Kirk. And while I agree with that, I'm like, yeah, that's 1960s thinking. And Next Generation really showed the way the show transformed by the second and third seasons, where it was, we need a Data show, we need a Worf show, we need a Crusher show, whatever. And as opposed to focusing on the planet and the problem, the show got better. And
right.
again, it worked for every subsequent sequel show. I don't understand why they made this choice. And again, it always comes back to poor writing. So what else can you say? Hey, Langley's here,
Oh
and
yeah,
he makes a good John Travolta observation. It's so weird. It's such an old fashioned thing, Gina.
Gina.
So, but that's a Boy in the Plastic Bubble reference, everybody. But I agree with you, Langley. Langley. We really want your schedule to like coincide with ours. I'm sorry, it's my fault that drop of a hat we're doing this when we're doing it now. But anyway, honestly, I would like you to stick with it if you can handle it as far as Discovery.
Well, I'm going. I like I told you, I'm going to hate watch that, and I'll hate watch the Orville, just
Yeah,
so we can talk. Just so we can talk about it.
Good.
Yeah, I'm a Star Trek fan. I like
in.
Star Trek. I want it to be good. I really do. Prodigy is a lot better than Discovery. I'm really surprised at that show. I'm really liking it a lot.
Let's
Not to
get
shift
into
gears yet, but yeah.
Yeah, let's get into it, man. I'm really glad you've caught up.
Yeah. I watched the newest episode today. So
Okay.
yeah.
Let's go back and start at the beginning. The pilot is really 2 episodes.
Right.
And then episode 3 was a standalone. And then they had 4 and 5 as a 2-parter. And it looks like 6 is going to dovetail into 7 and be a 2-parter at the very least. But yeah, what do you tell me what you like in general.
Well, it's definitely. I had my reservations about it because taking it outside of the Trek universe or the Trek bubble, I wanted to see how they handled that. But my argument is always the same. If the story is good and the characters are good, you've got something that can work, and this works. The characters are good. They're interesting right from the first episode. They established the bad guy. I like that they're, and again, this is what they're doing with all shows, is they have that long thread through all of the storyline, but it is kind of encapsulated in 1 or 2 episodes, like that story for whatever they're covering. So the first 2 episodes were good. It established everything, what's going on, who the characters were. I don't know their names, but I know I know that they're different and what they can do, which is a lot more than we had with Discovery at the beginning. And you're finding out what's the mystery behind the ship. I like that Janeway didn't show up until I can't remember if it was the end of the first or second episode, or was it the third episode where I think she shows up at the end of the second episode, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is the end of the pilot. And that's great, because then it was like, oh, what's going to happen? Literally, right. This show, when they like the cliff, well, again, Discovery has its own issues. This show, when they have a cliffhanger, I want to see what's going to happen next, and I'm anxious to see it. And that's the first time that's happened with new Star Trek since Discovery began. And I am genuinely interested, and I'll even give Discovery a pass and say I liked the pilot, the 2 parts of the pilot, and I'm like, okay, you got me. Let's see where this goes. All right, fine. And unfortunately, it went nowhere. But in the case of Prodigy, I agree with you. I mean, this is a team show, as it should be. They're figuring each other out. I mean, everything that they promised this show would be, they're delivering. Mm-hmm. And I like the fact that it's not a Starfleet show per se, and that we're looking at other parts of the galaxy and learning about new and old aliens.
Right, but they managed to bring the Starfleet into the show. They establish all the characters. They bring Janeway in, so you're immediately in a Star Trek show now if you didn't know before. And then all the Star Trek things about the ship, what's going on with the ship, the protocols and the proximity alarm and all this other. What is that? What is this? They're doing a great job of explaining it to someone who's never seen anything Star Trek before, which
100%.
I think Discovery should have done more to a degree. They didn't have to beat you over the head with it, but they should have introduced some of these things to the audience, because Discovery is something new for a whole new generation. But I think this show is doing what Discovery didn't, in terms of that.
This is Trek 101. This really is an introduction for young people, or even, again, if it's something that a new parent would stumble over. It's a great all ages show. I'm so relieved because Julie and Shauna Benson are among the writers, and in fact, they wrote the second part of the 4th and 5th episode. 3rd episode, I'm like, all right. I thought the problem they had to solve was a little too simplistic as they're familiarizing themselves with the ship. 4 and 5 is a classic Star Trek trope. I could have seen that on the original series. It almost felt like Shore Leave, but a more dangerous and deadly way. I mean, God, when those little cutesy things are all over the Rock Kid, and then really it's like flesh-eating, aliens or parasites or whatever. It's like, damn, that's a creepy moment, man. That's really cool. And and when they messed with Dal, I believe is his name, the would-be captain. I like that. I like the pig alien. I'm blanking on. They go back to Journey to Babel, but I like him, the engineer. I like the big bad's daughter that is discovering her role, and also the way she does stuff. I love the fact that they brought back the Medusans. And that's that, the spirit thing that was in a box, and now she's got her little robot body so she can tool around and stuff. I mean, that's the thing, literally top to bottom, and the way they're using Janeway.
Right.
It all makes sense, and it's interesting. And it's like, wow, go figure, an interesting Star Trek show. I remember what that felt like, and we're getting it.
Yeah, well, you think about this last episode too, because I was watching it and I'm like, oh, when I saw the name of the episode, which was Kobayashi, and I'm thinking, I think the first episode of Discovery this season was the Kobayashi Maru too, or something like that.
They did readdress the Kobayashi Maru,
right?
Yes.
So I was like, oh, when I saw the episode title for this episode, I was like, oh, and then I'm like, okay, they're gonna bring him into the holodeck, blah blah blah. But they did it so well. They started bringing back all the characters, and I'm like, this is how you do it. This actually makes sense. I assume that they went back and I didn't read the credits, but they pulled audio of Leonard Nimoy for his parts. But I thought it was really good. One nitpicky thing, and this is just a funny aside. But when he said give me the best, and that you pick all the people from Next Generation and from the Spock and Odo and all this other stuff, I'm like, what are you going to pick, the worst guys? What are you going to give them, like the Bob's Burger guy from the Star Trek shorts?
Exactly. You're dumb. It's John Benjamin.
Yeah, but it was just really well done. Picking these characters out. Could have just been, a throwback, let's give the fans what they want, and we could give them these guys because they need to see them so they know it's Star Trek. It was just really well done. You didn't have to know who Beverly Crusher was. You didn't have to know who Spock was. For those of us that did, they played their parts really well, or they were written well. But it worked really well. Yeah,
they found good audio. It's funny. One of my favorite YouTubers is this Eastern European guy, nitpicking nerd, and he rarely has anything good to say. And he kind of nitpicked. It has hence his title. This episode, I had no problem with it. I agree with you and Langley. I thought the use of the old audio was outstanding. It didn't bother me. Right. He's like, what's Odo doing at navigation? Shouldn't he be at tactical? And it's like, you're thinking too hard, man. It's fine. It's
Mhm.
totally fine. And I loved when Scotty showed up. That was great.
Mhm.
Uhura's there. I love that Gates McFadden was clearly the only one that was doing new lines. But
Mhm.
no, they had a very nice credit at the end,
Right.
dedicating to the memory of James Doohan, Rene Auberjois, and Leonard Nimoy. And
Mhm.
that's cool. And also poor Uhura. I'm sure if she was in a better health, she would have
Right.
probably done it. But
Right.
she's not,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And again, I thought they found great lines, and I loved the humor that they put in the Kobayashi Maru. I mean,
Mhm.
when after the 100th time or whatever, he thinks he figured it out, and he kicks back, and he ends
Mhm.
up fucking up again, and
Yep.
that was great. I mean, all
Mhm.
that was really really funny, and I liked the other story as Robot Girl and Big Bad's daughter are trying to figure out what the deal is with
Right.
the ship, and
And
that's awesome.
lacing the undertones of the mystery that some of Janeway's memory was redacted or top secret or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
y- it draws you in to want to see what happens next. I think they're doing a really really good job with this series.
Honestly, I'm very excited. I mean, we've got several episodes to go before we go back to the shit that is Discovery. That's February 10th.
So
So just so you
maybe
know,
maybe I'll
you
catch
literally
up
have
by
like a
then.
month. Yeah, you got a month to catch up. But yeah, man, no, honestly, I'm so excited with how good this is. Langley asks, how has Prodigy given more respect to Beverly Crusher than Picard? Great question, man. Great question.
Mm,
I,
yep.
I wish I could tell you. You know something? I keep mentioning this show, both the History Channel show and the podcast after show they do it with Brian Volkweiss and his two co-hosts. It's the Center Seat After Show, and you can find it on podcasting. He had Doug Drexler on, who was a makeup guy, not only for Star Trek but also won an Oscar for the Dick Tracy makeup for the Warren Beatty movie back in the day. But he became a production design guy for Star Trek and is still even working on season. He worked on season 2 and 3 of Picard. And first of all, he says everyone's going to be a lot happier with season 2 of Picard, which is great to hear. But another thing he said too was, and I know that he was legit about that. He admitted that the Picard show, one of the great flaws was that ridiculous scene in the last episode where the Federation fleet shows up and it's all cut and paste the same goddamn ship
Mm,
instead of showing all the different ships that we got in previous treks like Wolf 359, the infamous Borg incident, or all the great stuff at the end of the Dominion War where you saw the different kind of starships and stuff. And it's like, hey, don't cheat your audience. Don't chintz out on your audience, assholes. But of course they did. And he's like, they fucked up. And I
mm,
mean, he didn't swear, but he's like, he goes, the audience was 100% right to shit on them for cut and pasting that ridiculous fleet. And I went further, of course, because hey, it's acting Admiral Riker, and it's like uh, you've been retired. I
yeah.
mean, it's great. You could be part of the battle. I don't think you're leading the fleet. That's just me. But what the fuck do I know?
Right.
So,
Yeah, and this episode of Discovery, the second episode of Discovery, when they're making the synthetic body for the ghost kid. And again, forgive me, I don't know any of the names of the characters, but and he wants the little mole removed from his hand. Um,
Blue, yeah,
yeah. So they talk about the tech, and how the tech was 800 years old, and they mentioned the Picard thing, how it worked with him, but it didn't really take after that, and they haven't used it since. So I'm like, all right, so yeah,
yeah. I did find it weird that she wants this mole removed, and unfortunately, or pardon me,
they
excuse me, apologies,
they he
because he
yeah,
does identify as he.
okay,
He has said he's a him. He's a him, his, or whatever. But I did find it weird that again with HD, yeah, he wants the mole removed, but you can see the razor stubble on his face. The
mm,
the shaving bumps you get when you shave too close or whatever. And it's like slap some makeup on him, please. I mean, it's just I'm sorry. And again, you don't mean to nitpick, but it's like, well, you made such a grand point of, hey, we're removing a mole. And also, I'm sorry, and I'm glad you bring up Blue. Blue and Adira. Adira is Blue's partner. All they do is talk about how amazing they each other are. And really, you'll see that in subsequent episodes as well. And it's like, can you give Blue something to do, please?
No.
Something, anything? What is he? What is his function beyond being Adira's? And I know he was a disembodied ghost and everything, and they built this android body. But again, it's like, what do these people do? You're spending so much time on them, and all you're doing is having them say these circular conversations about how amazing they each other are. How about interacting with the rest of the crew, both Adira and Blue? There you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, drives me nuts. Ever since Discovery, they have been cut and pasting a million ships. Agreed, though, Langley. Yeah. And again, I don't understand. And also mentioning the cliffhanger. He's also curious about when this is set because we got to see Old Man Chakotay. Did he look old? I'm gonna have to relook at the cliffhanger.
Well, yeah, because he had higher rank, I believe, and
Yes.
and Janeway was like, wait, Chakotay was in charge of this ship, and hey, I'm starting to think I had another crew. It'd be interesting to find out what happened to Janeway too, because I think that might be a real fun avenue to pursue, and why Chakotay was there, and what what's the ship about? Because like they traveled how many light years? From one place to the other in that.
Yeah, it was like 70,000 or whatever. But obviously the Borg corridor cut the time, way down because it would have taken them like however many, decades to get back or whatever.
Right.
And even in the final thing, without the Borg corridor, it took them 17 years to get back. And I agree with you, man. No, I don't mind that that's a mystery still. And I have a feeling we will learn as we go. And clearly the way they're presenting Chakotay, because I had no idea. I assumed, much like Janeway, perhaps another hologram tutorial would be Chakotay. But now instead, no, it's part of the mystery of the ship. And that's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think that was like a memory bank or something that they happen to be able to open up. And being that blue staticky thing, I couldn't tell if he was older, but they did refer to him as a different rank because he was in charge of the ship.
Yeah, he was a captain. He was Captain Chakotay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, this is going to be, again, I mean, that's the thing. It's interesting. Why give him I don't understand this. Oh, I see what it is. Excuse me. First, this line from Langley. Android Picard is the most bizarre choice. Give him an android body that does nothing but age approximately or appropriately as he was already doing. No enhancement. What's the point? Why give him an ailment that kills him in season 1? God only knows. And again, I'm expecting if they don't resolve the Q story of season 2 in season 2, whenever Q is leaving, snap, Picard's human again. Because so many people are like, you killed Picard. Oh, no. His essence is in an android. That's great. You killed Picard. Sorry, he's dead. The body's dead. Yeah. Don't know how to break it to you. Wayne is joining us. Good to see you, Wayne. How are you, man?
Hello, Wayne.
I don't know. But again, and of course, I'm sure you read the news that there was COVID on the set of Picard. So
I didn't know that.
They had to suspend production. Obviously, with Omicron, it sounds like it might be a week or so of a delay, and I don't know where they are in post-production or whatever. I know I assumed maybe not. Maybe the filming isn't done because I know, much like the first 2 Superman Richard Donner movies, they're shooting season 2 and season 3 at the same time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's good. I think hopefully to expedite how quickly the show will come back after season 2. But it's funny too, mentioning, not to shit on Discovery more. I mean, what else can we say? I mean, like I said, I like all the characters on Prodigy. I'm intrigued by the story. I think we're in a really good place. And as Langley points out about the Picard production, 50 people were infected. That's a crazy amount of people. Yeah. But that's kind of what's happening with Omicron right now, man.
Yeah. Well, where I work, it's crazy, out of control. We get different statistics all the time, and it's nuts. So
yeah. No.
I mean, you're just gonna have to grin and bear it and work through the issues. I don't mind that. I understand that, but just make it good.
Right.
When you do come
and
back.
Again, that's interesting. Wayne says if they're filming in Toronto, we have strict COVID protocols in my province. Actually, I believe they are filming in LA. I know they are because the modern day stuff happens in LA. Although Toronto could substitute for LA if need be. That said, though, I think to accommodate Patrick Stewart, they are shooting it in LA. And I know that season 1 was very much in California in general. So we'll see. I mean, again. But yeah, it was funny because Brian, my buddy that does the Center Seat documentary series, which is on the History Channel, and then the after show, he's the lead host. And he doesn't let these guys go. And he's like, oh, I think you're really going to be happy, Drexler was saying about season 2. And he's like, happy from a design standpoint, or are the stories going to get better? And he goes, I really think the stories got better. And he's like, so he's, and again, he was the first one to say without any prompting, there was a lot of bullshit on Discovery. And he even said, too, and it's a point that we've all made, that Trek used to lead as far as new and interesting ideas. It didn't rehash old tropes. And he said that's a big problem with Discovery. And clearly, he said there's cotton candy science fiction. And by the phrase, you can understand what he means. And then there are people that really, want to do good science fiction. And he said, it depends on who's running the show and the people they hire and whatever. And he goes, it's the production designer's job to give their opinion, but ultimately you gotta facilitate whatever the showrunner's vision is for the show. And these are great. These are such great in-depth interviews. He also did one with, or they, because he's got this husband and wife academic team that are based in Illinois. And frankly, I'd love to have them on. I had Brian on an episode of Trek Watch. I'd love to have them on as well because they know their shit. They know their shit more than Brian does. But they interviewed Nicholas Meyer, and they interviewed Brandon Braga, who said, and both Doug Drexler and Brandon Braga, I know how you feel about the Orville, but they both are working on season 3, and they're like, we are really, really happy. Braga's like, I really think every season we've gotten a little better, and we're going to blow you away with this 3rd season. I hope it's so good that they do consider doing another season. I'm not exactly sure, since the Fox acquisition by Disney, what the fate of the Orville is in any way. But, regardless, we're going to get episodes. That's going to start March 22nd.
Haven't they said that? Well, didn't Seth MacFarlane say that this was the final season, or
yeah? And I don't know if that's because again the budget is what it, or they decided, all right, we'll do one more and that's it. I have no idea. And truly, if it is, okay, that's great. You did 3 seasons. I mean, again, I totally agreed with you in terms of the flaws that were there in the first season, and I just think it's gotten better. And truly, dare I say it, I think it's on a level of like Galaxy Quest in terms of being one of the best Star Trek things that wasn't made by Star Trek. Although it was made by Star Trek people, but it's not an official Star Trek show, So, anyway, other news I'm aware of, and I don't know if you saw them, and it's ironic. IDW is going to do a series of one-shots about various Discovery crew members. And on the one hand, I think that's great, but on the other hand, it's like, so once again, it reminded me of Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. It's like, oh yeah, this character you've never heard of. Well, read the book and that'll help you out. And it's like, no, fuck you. You got to move it. Tell me about the guy like Laura Dern, purple hair in Last Jedi. It's like, no, tell me what she does. Why is she so close to Leia? You can't write a scene for that? Nope, read the book. Fuck you, read the book.
Yeah.
So, and then that's why, again, fuck you, read the comic. And it's hilarious because the first comic book is about Book's cat.
Jeez, really?
Okay. Jesus is right, man.
Wow.
By the way, help me out with something, Francis, because
I don't. If it involves Discovery, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. But let's try.
Book's name is Cleveland Book.
Yeah.
Did they establish at some point, and did I miss the tea leaves that Book's planet?
I think they said that he was born in a library in Cleveland. I believe that's how they came up
For
with the
real?
name. No, I have no idea. I have no idea. No clue whatsoever.
So yeah, all right. Langley agrees with me about that. The franchise's storytellings have relied on using books to fix problems. And hey, listen, I got friends that are writing Star Wars books and shit like that. So I don't mind it. Like Charles Soule is doing like amazing Star Trek novels that are in canon. But
Right.
again, they're kind of original stories versus let us explain the movie, but you got to buy a book to explain it. And yeah, I don't know, man. And Langley says he's still confused about Book's origins as well. Because again,
Yeah.
his name is Cleveland Book, and I'm like, how's that an alien name?
Yeah.
I don't. And again, we're like, because also as you saw in those first two episodes, Book has powers that were connected to the planet that he comes
Right.
from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah,
like, is he?
I thought about that too, because now the planet's destroyed. What does that mean? Because they made a big deal about him being able to drive the ship with the spore drive and all that other stuff, but he had those things with he can sense, through the animals and the trees and the thing in the planet. But if that's gone, but it did work off world too. In those earlier episodes when he had those whale things or whatever,
Yeah,
he used his powers on that off world
yeah.
too. So I don't.
So again, that's why it's like, yeah, his name's Cleveland Booker. Isn't that like saying, "Hi, I'm from Rigel 7, and I was born and raised here. I have no ties to Earth. What's your name? Oh, Henry Jones." And
Yeah,
it's like, what?
yeah.
What? I don't know. I don't know.
Did it?
Langley says because his people look human, I just assume they were human colonists evolved after 1,000 years. I'd
That's
like a
great.
better explanation, please.
That's
But
great,
that's
but
just
that's
me.
an assumption. That's not an explanation. Yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah. Again, that's why it's like
Oh,
this show is just infuriating in so many ways, and I can't wait for you to catch up. So that'll be great. Uh, I'm almost done with this 3 novel wrap up to the Trek novel continuity, and it is a great goddamn story, and it really is like this multi-universe cataclysm. Um, I truly I can't recommend it enough. It is so good. The series is called Star Trek Coda, and I think we just I don't know if you were around to discuss this, Francis, but the deal is since the end of Nemesis and before the announcement came that they were making Discovery, the novels just took it for granted that there wasn't going to be any more future stories of Star Trek. So they kind of created their own 20-year continuity since 2001.
okay.
And Beverly and Picard got married, and they furthered the adventures of Riker and Troy on the Titan as it ends with Nemesis. And Tuvok is an officer on the Titan, along with Troy and Riker and stuff. Um, Picard and Beverly have a new child named Renee after Picard's nephew that died in the
Hmm.
fire. And really interesting little kernels of stuff. Cisco came back. Really, I mean, it makes me want to read a lot of the novel stories that I missed in those 20 years.
So now what are they doing with this? Is this kind of like a what if type thing
Well,
now, or
they've established that because and it was great.
it's like another offshoot universe or something?
It's an alternate universe, and it's great because the publishers, and forgive me if it's Simon and Schuster, I forget who's publishing the Star Trek novels, but they're like, okay, these guys wrote 20 years of stories. They could have just cut them off and start because they want the novels to reflect new Trek. And we've gotten Picard novels and we've gotten Discovery novels. I don't know if there are plans for Lower Deck novels or even Prodigy, but regardless, as opposed to just cutting them off and saying, okay, you got to write new Trek, they're like, we'll give you time to write a goodbye to this universe. And in the story itself, Wesley, 50-year-old Wesley, discovers that that timeline is an alternate universe. And of all people, if you remember the two-parter with Data, where he went back to 1890 San Francisco or 1900 San Francisco, and his head was blown off, and they had to
Hmm.
figure out the mystery. Those aliens are responsible for feeding off the alternate universes and essentially killing off multiple alternate universes. That's the main story. And now I was reading the first book, and I went back and I watched Time Zero. That's the name of the two-parter with Data. And it was so nice. And again, unlike New Trek television writers, the amount of care that these authors put to connect the Time Zero story to what they're doing. And seriously, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what those aliens did. That's what those powers were. And it's like, this is amazing. This is the kind of supplemental information that just got me so excited about the books again. And it's like, this is great. So, I mean, I know how busy you are, and I would tell the audience as well, if you miss great Star Trek stories that involve our favorite characters, the books have been doing it literally for 40 years. I mean, this shit started in the 80s, and they've never missed a beat. And I think there are so many great Star Trek novels that you can get great enjoyment from of every era, So can't recommend Coda enough. I think it's amazing. I think I'm down to like the last 50 pages. There's a lot of deaths and other things going on, but there's a lot of, fan service done in the right way is the best way I can explain it. So there you go.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, Langley's. I think I'm selling Langley on the idea. No lie, man. God, there was a great Section 31 Andorian plot that Julian exposed, and it cost him his Starfleet career. He had to be kicked out of Starfleet, but the truth came out. And there was a whole big Federation conspiracy involving Section 31. The president was involved. I'm sorry, spoilers. But really, really, really interesting stories. Data, B4, having Data's memories worked. And now Data is living in B4 and was so successful with what he did, he was able to reconstruct his daughter, Lal. And they've been floating around and have been in stories the last few years. Cannot tell you how many interesting ideas are in these books. It's truly, I'm like, and I haven't given them the time to read the Discovery or Picard books, and I should, because these are the same people that wrote those, so maybe they'll make better sense of New Trek than the TV idiots do. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to read all those because I have so much stuff going on, but I will watch. I will watch the shows. I'm excited about Prodigy. I'll slog my way through Disco and catch up with you guys on the other side. But
sure, man,
we'll see.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, and we'll find out the big mysteries of this week and what's going on, man. Yeah, Langley, honestly, he says he's going to buy Coda at least. You're not going to be disappointed, Langley, because also at the beginning of each of the volumes, they kind of catch you up with where the book continuity is. And they encapsulate the facts of a bunch of these stories. All it made me do was want to read the stories. You're like, oh, that's, like I said, Julian and Ezri exposed this big Section 31 mystery. And it's like, I want to read that. That sounds great. And I have read a couple.
Do they have them on audio?
That's a good question, man. I know they do for the new stuff. I don't know about, and actually, I don't even know if Audible has the Star Trek Coda books, but I have purchased one of the Star Trek Picard books that supposedly goes into Riker and Troy prior to them being on that planet with their daughter,
where they make pizza
stuff.
Yeah,
there's no pizza making in the book, unfortunately. So JDS, if it's just one book, no, it's three. It's it's 3 books long, and I'm telling you, man, it's just been a pleasure to read. So, that's hilarious. Wayne says, and I love this movie. He just watched Capricorn 1. If you want to watch a good conspiracy story, remember that movie, man?
Yes, I do.
Were you a fan?
Watched it so long ago, so no.
Really?
Yeah, it was okay, but I think I saw it when I was really young, so I don't know if I really kind of appreciated it. I might have to go back and put it on one day and watch it again.
It really is a good 70s sci-fi movie, and it's the cast is crazy because it's James Brolin, it's 3 astronauts,
right?
And it's James Brolin, O.J. Simpson, and a very young Sam Waterston. from Law and Order and everything.
Yeah.
And he's like the wacky comic relief, which is kind of interesting. And Brenda Vaccaro plays James Brolin's breathy wife, and Hal Holbrook is in it.
Brenda
and he's kind of one of
Vaccaro.
the
Jeez,
yeah, and Hal Holbrook's one of the conspiracy guys. It's good.
I'm looking up as we're speaking. Star Trek Coda Book 1 Audible Audio Edition is available on Amazon.
There you go, man.
From Simon & Schuster. So
okay, there you go. And yes, Langley confirms all 3 are available on audio.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
So yeah.
So yeah, you might enjoy it. That's so funny because literally, I've been listening to old Star Trek audiobooks that are on YouTube and free. And enjoying them. And, Scotty read a lot of those. George Takei read a lot of those. And Leonard Nimoy did a lot of those as well. And I love it. Yeah. It's like, and Leonard Nimoy as the voice of Spock. And it's like, yeah, man. Good stuff. Yeah. So there you go, man.
Yeah, that's all the hate and love watch I got this week.
No, it's all good. No, absolutely. And I'm glad you're caught up. So, we'll try and reconvene next week. And do another thing. Oh yeah, Langley says that old audio stuff is great. Yeah, man. No, Doohan and Takei really act and try to convey different voices for the characters they play, and it's terrific. And especially Doohan was an old radio actor before he was an on-camera actor, so he was doing that stuff literally in the 50s. Well, before we saw him on that stuff and everything. Yes, JD is right about Capricorn 1. I forgot to mention Elliot Gould, a journalist in the movie. No, it's a really good cast, and it's a cool movie. So there you go. And yes, as Langley says, can't wait to hear how Discovery goes for you, Franco. Yes, I look forward to it as well.
Me too, maybe.
So there you go. Yeah, I hear you, man. No,
I'm still looking for waiting for Anson Mount series, so I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, I have yet to hear a start date for Strange New Worlds. But again, everyone seems very positive about the production. And again, truly, the fact that Discovery is slowly nudging towards the same thing where if it's a bit more episodic and they're trying a little hard to give you familiar Star Trek tropes. And to me, that's like, well, again, I think they listen to the audience. And that's good. I mean, it's getting better. So maybe that's a good sign that Strange New Worlds will be even more what we hope for. Right. We'll see.
Yeah.
There you go, man. Anyway, all right, there you go. More positive than we normally do here on Trek Watch, and that's a good thing.
I say it's because Mitch wasn't here. That's why.
Yeah, I know. He's a stick in the mud. It's true. He holds us back. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week. Until then, here I gotta get the right video up there. Where the hell is it? There it is.
Bye.
Live long and prosper. Bye-bye, everybody.